Welcome to this late session on forest landscape restoration, enhancing more than carbon stocks. This topic, of course, we heard today the whole day about landscapes, but I would like to link that with the two organizations that host this specific session, the forest landscape restoration, which is IUCN, the International Union for Conservation of Nature, and the ITTO, the International Tropical Timber Organizations. Indeed, both organizations, independently and jointly afterwards, have somehow, from the forestry side, invented this restoration pathway in respect to forests. Indeed, IUCN already in 1998, and I remember this famous session in Spain, brought this topic up in the international level in the forestry world. And it developed over time through the global forest landscape restoration until today's Plant a Pledge initiative. You will hear more about that. It developed this topic scientifically, but also from a very practical angle. The ITTO, which is the International Tropical Timber Organization, which normally deals with tropical production forests, has also taken this topic in the very early of the year 2000 and developed for its member countries already in 2002 very detailed guidelines on managing secondary forests, restoring degraded forest, and rehabilitating degraded forest land. So both organizations somehow have been pioneers in this field. So I think this is a very good opportunity also to mention that to you. Let me introduce briefly the panelists. And let me start with the two ladies, if I can, and with our keynote speaker. Indeed, it is simply impossible for me in a minute to make justice to the bio of Bianca Jagger, but I try my best to take some highlights out of her rich career. Bianca is currently a Council of Europe Goodwill Ambassador. She is the founder and chair of the Bianca Jagger Rights Foundation. She's a member of the Executive Directors Leadership Council of Amnesty International US, and a trustee of the Amazon Charitable Fund. Bianca studied many years ago political science at the Sorbonne in Paris. Later, over her career, she has been a recipient for several honorary doctoral degrees, for example, of Stonehill College, Massachusetts, of the University of East London, and of the human rights, and a doctorate on human rights in the Simon College in Boston. Let me also mention that among the many awards she earned are the Right Livelihood Award, which is known as the Alternative Nobel Prize in 2004, and the UN Earth Day International Award in 1994. But that's only a couple of those many awards that Bianca received. In June 2012, Bianca launched, along with IUCN and Airbus Corporation, the Plant a Pledge initiative, which aims to restore 150 million hectares of forests around the world by 2020. Bianca, we are honored to have you here, and we are very happy to have you as the keynote speaker. I would like to briefly introduce all the panelists before we hear the keynote speak. On the right of Bianca is Dr. Yetti Rusli. Yetti is from Indonesia. She is currently the senior advisor of the Minister of Forestry in climate change and biodiversity questions. She holds this position since 2002. She has been very much instrumental in the development of climate change and forests in Indonesia. She's also the chairperson of the Climate Change Working Group of the Ministry of Forestry. She was prior the Director General of the Forest Planning Division in Indonesia, and those people who know Indonesia, they know this is a huge and big task as the second most important forest country in the world. Yetti holds a master degree in forestry planning from the University of Alberta, correct? Sorry. And a PhD degree from the Washington State University in Seattle. Thank you, Yetti, that you also came in very late. You see here a panel which indeed has been established only in the last 24 hours. The only rock and solid rock in this panel is Bianca Jagger. Thank you very much, Bianca, to respect from the very beginning the invitation of IUCN and ITTO in this regard.
Thank you, Jürgen. Good afternoon. Thank you for your kind words. And it is a pleasure to be speaking to you today at the 6th Forest Day Conference, Solutions for a Sustainable World. It is a pleasure because I know that the majority of the people who are here are committed to making a difference in the world, who know what the challenges are that we are facing today, and who are determined to be part of the solution. Before addressing the topics of my speech, I would like to say to you just a few things about me for those who don't know, and I know that Jürgen did a very good job in trying to give you a good bio. I was born in Nicaragua, and I grew up under the dictatorship of the Somoza regime, and left Nicaragua to study political science at the Institute of Political Science. Since then, I have campaigned for human rights for the last 30 years, for human rights, social justice, and environmental protection. And in 2006, I decided to found the Bianca Jagger Human Rights Foundation, and I share that organization since then. During my 30 years of campaigning for human rights, social and economic justice, and environmental protection, my work has taken me around the world, from Latin America to Africa to Asia to the Middle East. And I'm sure that it will take me to many, many more places around the world if I have many years to live. I would like to talk to you a little bit about where we stand today before I talk about Plant a Pledge, because I feel that it will put it in the context of the challenges that we are facing. We stand on the precipice of various global crises, but I found it inspiring that we are all here together because we want to find solutions. A recent report by the Potsdam Institute for Climate Impact Research and Climate Analytics, commissioned by the World Bank, released in November 2012, which is called Turn Down the Heat: Why a 4 degrees centigrade warmer world must be avoided, delivers some alarming and long overdue facts. As the report states, a 4 degrees centigrade world is so different from the current one that it comes with wide, high uncertainties and new risks that threaten our ability to anticipate and plan for future adaptation needs. The 4-degree scenarios are devastating, the report states. The inundation of coastal cities, increasing risks for food production, potentially leading to higher malnutrition rates, many dry regions becoming drier, wet regions wetter, unprecedented heat waves in many regions, especially in the tropics, substantially exacerbated water scarcity in many regions, increased frequency of high-intensity tropical cyclones, and irreversible loss of biodiversity, including coral reef system. It is really a sobering report. And what is extraordinary about this report and the fact that the World Bank released it is that I looked at this report and I thought, oh dear, there's things I could have written myself or that I have written. And it inspired me or encouraged me to see that the World Bank is willing to commission a report like this and willing to release a report like this, warning us about the threat of the 4-degree centigrade. We know that even a few degrees temperature rise will drastically change the habitability of the planet and bring about potentially catastrophic change in water sources, forests, food, health, and business. Because what is important to understand is that this is not only going to affect us, it is going to affect everything in our world, including business. Climate change will affect everyone throughout the world, in every nation, and from every socioeconomic group. It will affect cities, rural areas, economies, food, security, and health. The physical shape of the land and coast, every aspect of our lives throughout the developing and the developed world. Today, I went to a very different conference, and the Vice President from the IPCC quoted something very interesting. He quoted Svante Akimenius, a Swedish scientist that observed in 1869 that if CO2 levels continue to rise, global temperatures will also rise, but around 4 degrees by the end of the 21st century. It seems that he was much more of a visionary than many of the people who are here negotiating are willing to be. Since we continue to talk about being under 2 degrees centigrade and not really taking into account the gap between where we are and what the science tell us that we need to be. The effects of climate change can already be seen across the world. Hurricane Sandy, record floodings in Beijing, Manila, across the UK, and in Russia. Scientific American posted an article yesterday entitled, "Mega Storm Could Drown Massive Portions of California." The editor noted that they are making the article freely available now because of the flooding underway in California. The article was scheduled to appear in the January 2013 issue of Scientific America. But because I have a Twitter account and I continuously do research, I stumble upon this article, which gave me terrible nightmares yesterday before I came to see you. The extreme weather event of 2012 are but a hint of things to come. Oxfam September 2012 report, Extreme Weather, Extreme Prices, is unequivocal. These weather events are not isolated or coincidence. Extreme weather is the new normal. The cause of these changes is, of course, the concentration of CO2 in our atmosphere. Last week, the World Meteorological Society reported global CO2 concentrations of 394 parts per million. The atmospheric CO2 concentration have risen by 31% since 1750 and is now at the highest level since the last 420,000 years. According to the World Meteorological Association, between 1990 and 2011, there was a 30% increase in the radioactive forcing, the warming of the global climate due to CO2 and other greenhouse gases. And you may...
Thank you, Giorgio.
Thank you, Juan Carlos. Yetti, you are a representative of the Indonesian government. Indonesia is the second most important tropical forest country. What is your work, what is your interest in forest landscape restoration?
Thank you, Jürgen. Living landscape restoration, what does it mean for Indonesia? So, as we hear from keynote speakers, I think all of us, or almost of us, agree, and also from my friend Carlos mentioned already. For Indonesia, concept and implementation probably not very much known by the world. So those would like to raise in this afternoon. When we see living landscape restoration, we have to see as a broader landscape also. So in Indonesia, we use the term of forest land use that have been introduced even since before independence. For example, we call it a forest registered in Java Island and Sumatra Island that now we recognize as protected forests. So in tropical island countries like Indonesia, we only have a big island like Sumatra, Kalimantan, and Papua. And other island, about 17,000 island is according to small island. With the tropical landscape, with the active mountain, so we really need to take care of ecosystem. When we talk about ecosystem, we talk about the human life. We talk about the ecosystem, flora and fauna, and unique of ecosystem. So what is the fundamental variable here or criteria which shape the main forest function? In Indonesia, we recognize the main forest function: conservation forests, protected forests, and production forests, and other land use for agriculture and others. So this is a forest land cluster in Indonesia. And the micro landscape is following the main function for management of the land. So the criteria, the main criteria is the slope, because you are a mountain island. The slope is very important to taking care, and soil type, and also the precipitation or rainfall. So how we determine the protected forests, production forests, and other land use already been recognized by our constitution even since 1967. This is the first law in forestry. Come to the forest and climate change. At least what does it mean by trees and forests in order to intervene CO2 in CO2 cycle? At least 3 roles of forests and trees: absorbing CO2, come from forest fire, from the decay and others. And the second part is CO2 from energy burning. So transforming CO2 into solid C through photosynthesis. Next is maintaining solid C more longer in the forest. And also, very important in the future, producing biomass sustainably. For what? For green energy, renewable energy, for green products. So, interpreting landscape restoration for us could be mean as how to improve activities, how to scale up activities, management for all type of forests. We talk those at the United Nations Forum on Forests, all type of forests. And how Indonesia deal with the forest development and climate change. Landscape already embedded in our policy, regulation, and management. Now the challenge is the activities. Talking about the climate change without scaling up, without speeding up the activities, the program, we don't have a significant meaning to intervene the CO2 in the atmosphere. So what Indonesia did so far, as we are aware of our rate of deforestation is very high in the period of 96 to 2000. We are aware of that. Many international publications also written on that. We did combat illegal logging, illegal log trading, and probably famous with our program with the EU under Flag T, and we come up with a VPA, Voluntary Partnership Agreement, and now we have a timber legality certification system. And the next is we have national movement of planting trees. At least now, now it's in the third year, target of 1 billion trees per year. 1 billion trees per year. So I say that heal the world by planting trees. And we have improved our regulation, technology and innovation. Even for teak trees, we know that teak trees need 100 years to grow to be harvested. Now we have only 5 years, we can get 23 centimeter diameters and 12 high. Those are innovation that we have, just for example. And what we hope from REDD Plus and climate change. We talk about forest carbon and conservation, that before we didn't recognize that. And we talk about forest carbon and degraded land, enhancing forest carbon stock. And we talk about forest carbon, green product, green renewable energy. Talking about the effort, we need to be sure Indonesia that really give the result, the real result for the future effort. For 15 years, combat illegal logging, from 96 specifically until now. During 96 to 2000, we have rate of deforestation of 3.51 million hectares per year. But now, 0.45. This is a remote sensing 2011. So anyone can test it again. We will get the number around that. Now REDD Plus is really hope for Indonesia and the world. Open really wide opportunity for forest countries to take significant effort of mitigating climate change. In order to scale up and speed up activities, we need all strategy for REDD Plus implementation. Technical matters, market. Talking about market is efficiency and governance, and also investment. Another thing is I would like to mention here, improve global criteria and indicator related to forest and carbon cycle for REDD+. They are not the same with criteria indicator under Kyoto Protocol. They are really different. At least we need to improve. IPCC guideline 2006 may not enough to bring the real implementation of REDD+ to maximum effort. That's the final words for me. Then I would like to ask Bianca, especially IUCN, ITTO, and my friend, and all of us here, really give a chance landscaping, restoration. We are looking forward for your deep attention to reach broader global general public to know about this and to support our effort. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Yetti. Yetti, maybe I can ask you to look at one of the questions from Ed Barrow on there are a lot of great policies out there, and for sure Indonesia has also great policies on the level of forest conservation and management. But the problem is the lack of implementation. Can you elaborate a little bit on that, or is that not a correct observation from the floor?
Yeah, I think I would like to mention that some variable have been mentioned about the social integrated and things like that. So this we know that this already included in a main element of the development. So of course every country will include those social, and how it's implementing in the field is really depend on many variables. For example, we are aware of Indonesia. We have some crucial periods where happen a big illegal logging, illegal log trading, and things like that. So also forest fire. So we know where it's happened, in what forest function. So we know how to approach to solve the problem. So other variable also, this is a global challenge to really deal with the climate change. Developing countries really have short power to scale up the activities. We have a good practice example in the field, but how to scaling up those is really depend on the global attention. So I think it's come to the answer, how could we fast our negotiation? But I think we don't have to wait until we finish. We can back up with small action, even the small action, but real, and bring the companionship in the world. Partnership is not enough. Let's have a trust. Do even something, even that small, but real in the field. So.
Thank you.